Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our Wursta Security webinar, Google Security Basics, Establishing a Strong Foundation. We're excited to share some key insights with you today and hopefully equip you with the tools and knowledge to build a solid security strategy. Before we dive in, let me address a few quick housekeeping items. First, this entire session is being recorded and we'll be sharing it with you after the event. So if you need to catch up on anything or share it with colleagues, you'll have access to the recording. And second, please feel free to ask questions throughout the session. Use the little chat box and we'll address them during the Q&A at the end. So to kick things off, I'm Pete Hoff, Vice President of Global Technology at Wursta, and I'm thrilled to be leading this discussion. We're also incredibly fortunate to have such a talented group of experts with us today. Joanna Heisman, Senior Vice President of Strategic Insights at KnowBe4, and Tony Rosales, Senior Solutions Engineer at Virtru. Today's agenda is packed with valuable information covering everything from Google's security features to the human element of cybersecurity, and we'll explore how to effectively secure data in the cloud with Virtru. So get ready for the discussion. Now, let's talk about the critical importance of cybersecurity in today's world. I'm Pete Hoff again. I'm a 30-year IT professional with the last 20 in information security. I'm excited to talk through some of our insights into Google Workspace and some newer security capabilities with the Google Chrome browser. So let's talk a little bit about the state of cybersecurity and some criminal activity impacting business regardless of size. The global average cost of a data breach has increased by 10% in 2024. And unfortunately, that brings us to about 4.45 million per breach. 80 to 95% of all breaches are caused by an employee's mistake, though, and this emphasizes the growing financial risk associated with the security breaches and the urgency for organizations to improve their security. So if you haven't had the opportunity to use all of the Google Cloud platforms from endpoint to Google Cloud Computing Solutions, there's a common theme. All of the Google products and solutions have embedded consistent cybersecurity capabilities and security controls. Across all of these platforms, Google has integrated critical security frameworks such as NIST, HIPAA, privacy frameworks like GDPR, FedRAMP, DoD controls for CMMC. More specifically, there are standard capabilities when you manage security across Google Cloud solutions. Identity management, multi-factor authentication, granular access control for role-based access, monitoring and alerting for vulnerabilities, and even more secure endpoint management for workloads such as servers, endpoints, and mobile devices. All of these solutions and many more are integrated into the Google platform. And to provide a shameless plug, Wursta can help to build and support all of these solutions with our full managed services capability for 24/7 cloud and workspace support. So how do we do that? Here at Wursta, we believe in a strong security controls framework that integrates well into business processes. We view risk management as a competitive differentiator for our clients. Our unique approach to security engagements is anchored in the 3Cs security framework. Through a meticulous assessment and implementation of secure architectures and settings, we gain clarity into your organization's vulnerabilities and risk. Recognizing that each business faces its own set of challenges, we collaborate with you to develop customized roadmaps that provide control over risk mitigation. And we partner with industry-leading information security vendors like KnowBe4 and Virtru to provide a truly comprehensive solution. This results in a strengthened security posture aligned with industry standards, regulatory compliance requirements, and your specific business needs, leaving you with confidence in your defense. So what sets us apart is that we evaluate your processes and culture to establish a better understanding of your risks. For example, if your organization uses a third-party SaaS tool to process personal or financial information, there's a good chance your users may download content from that application into local computers for reporting. I'm sure some of you may have seen that. This can add risk to your data and can expose vulnerabilities within your endpoints and other places that data may move to. We conduct an in-depth analysis of your current environment, uncovering vulnerabilities within your configurations, policies, and even user procedures. Our thorough assessment ensures that no risks are left unseen, giving you a crystal clear view of your security posture. A significant complexity in managing compliance and security is navigating the complex world of data privacy regulations. Standard security frameworks have been built to ensure the best standards are understood and provide a path to better security. When assigning security settings and helping organizations, Wursta focuses on NIST 853 as our core security framework. When more controls are needed, like DoD or FedRAMP, Wursta can help you achieve FedRAMP High or CMMC certification, or even GDPR as well. We provide actionable insights, a prioritized roadmap, and the tools you need to take control of your cloud security. With a clear strategy in place, you gain complete control over the security posture with a clear path for a secure future. For example, Wursta provides customized roadmaps that not only outline your highest risks first, but we focus on helping your organization establish strong security processes that fit your business. Some of the most important security controls we see organizations struggling with today include enforcement of Google security practices. Google makes this easy when managed and deployed with strong organizational communication strategies and awareness. Our focus begins with these security areas. While this may seem simple, strong and long passwords are rarely enforced. Google has some great ways to address this, and I'll cover this in the next slide. We also recommend implementing the principle of least privilege, granting users only the necessary permissions to perform their jobs. This can be simple and repeatable by using roles. This also applies to how your users share files externally, for example. We recommend disabling sharing with a link. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but when you share a file with a link, anyone with that link can access the file anonymously. Links can be emailed and shared, exposing your information with unwanted recipients. And last on this slide, email security is important as well. Google is 99% effective in stopping email threats, spam, and phishing when it's set up correctly, and we can help you take care of that as well. As I mentioned earlier, long and strong passwords are important. And based upon studies conducted by NIST, passphrases are actually the best method to establish secure passwords that can be remembered. Multiple passwords strung together over 12 characters long in total to make up a long passphrase is much better. 8 characters with upper, lower, and numbers, and even special characters will be cracked much earlier. And of course, always use multi-factor authentication. And if you're in the Google console, set it to any except via text or phone call. Text and phone call multi-factor authentication is not secure any longer. And the newest feature that's still in beta is passkeys that use biometrics such as facial recognition or fingerprint. You may not be aware of this, but if you're a current Google Workspace customer, you may have seen this in the Google Admin Console. Passkeys are going to simplify authentication in the future and will remove the need to remember a password. Really excited about this. So with a clear understanding of your unique environment and security needs, we develop customized defense strategies. This tailored plan ensures your Google Cloud security is robust. We can help you achieve your critical infrastructure and security improvements to tackle first. Remediation, designing, and deploying data loss prevention rules, taking action, strengthening your business capabilities is where we specialize our time. Wursta has many capabilities that are backed by industry certifications and decades of experience. Wursta continues to grow and adapt to new threats, and we share capabilities with you so you have clarity, control, and confidence in your security. In this discussion today, we're focusing on improving security where it can be most impactful. We've covered a number of Security 101 topics, but I'm going to focus this discussion on the endpoint and securing the user experience. This is where we, along with Virtru and KnowBe4, will provide their insights. So let's talk about where your users spend most of their time. One of the key components of the internet experience, and quite honestly, where everyone spends their time, is on the browser. Google has built the most effective platform for presenting you with everything your users need on the web. a feature-rich, application-oriented experience that the world has embraced. What many of you may not be aware of is that Google's browser has an enormous capability built in to manage your security. Google weaved a security client into the browser that unleashes visibility, monitoring, policy enforcement, and many more capabilities to reduce the risks of using the internet and securing your user's endpoint. Google was pretty smart in their approach. Initially, we saw security capabilities added to the Chrome browser when Google announced context-aware access and Chrome policies. These capabilities helped secure your users' passwords and apply policies to safe web browsing, URL inspection, and some DLP capabilities. Many new features were introduced that helped to extend the security validation process into new levels. This is where we're going to begin with Chrome Enterprise Browser Security. So as we focus on the security capabilities, Google's security innovations and expertise in AI and machine learning in the Chrome browser have driven business benefits as well. Nearly all of Google's security capabilities leverage AI and machine learning to provide faster and more accurate alerts to threats and vulnerabilities. Chrome uses machine learning and AI to constantly crawl the web and predict whether a site, file, or extension may be malicious. When users visit infected or malicious sites, there's an automatic attention-grabbing warning, just as you see here, deceptive site ahead. And enhanced safe browsing gives users extra protection against phishing attacks from dangerous websites, downloads, and extensions. With Chrome, you can customize your policy management. There are more than 900 policies that can be applied to your Chrome browser. For example, you can customize updates and versioning to specific browser versions to work within your organization's testing and timeline. And you can set policies to block untrusted file downloads or prevent users from navigating to unsafe URLs. One of my favorite capabilities, of course, is safeguarding from malware. When it comes to malware protection, Chrome is a reliable and powerful choice that uses AI, machine learning, and threat intelligence to make you more secure. Advanced detection capabilities can identify zero-day vulnerabilities and ransomware attacks, providing an added layer of security for your business. Sandboxes are standard, and site isolation offers further protection by ensuring malicious code can't spread from one tab to another within your browser. Applications are another area where you can open your organization to data exfiltration, privacy threats, and more. There are over 250,000 extensions available in the Chrome web browser, and they can be incredibly useful assets for workers looking to save time and boost productivity. Chrome browser cloud management, which comes at no additional cost, has a ton of capabilities. You can use it to see all the details about the app and extension usage across your entire organization. And there is a new extension details risk assessment tool, which you'll like a lot, available through the Chrome Browser Cloud Management Console that makes it easy for admins and security teams to review Chrome extensions. Visibility is especially important when it comes to extension usage, so you can know when upcoming deprecations might impact critical business applications, or whether your fleet has pending updates that include a zero-day vulnerability. You can also easily track and monitor the versions of Chrome being used across your organization. Chrome provides an easy way to get all your insights and reports into your SIEM, or Security Information Event Management System of choice. We recommend Chronicle SIEM if you're looking for one. And we know that many organizations want to take a more proactive approach to data security. With Beyond Core Enterprise, you can leverage Chrome to protect your information and enable data loss prevention. This includes control over what users can upload, download, print, save, copy, and paste. There's also real-time phishing protection, malware deep scanning, and zero trust access to SaaS applications. It's also possible to customize end users' warnings and define bypass justifications. A user can sign into their work profile from any Chrome browser in the world and enjoy the same protections as well as their managed device. This allows you to keep your corporate data and users and vendors safe when they access company info on personal or unmanaged devices. It means employees have peace of mind knowing that they can browse privately, even on a work device. Wursta is a partner with many specialized solutions providing to providers to achieve seamless security across all the Google platforms. We are looking for the best and most innovative solutions here at Wursta. This approach works well in Google's open architecture and philosophy for Chrome browser. The Google platform integrates and works well together with all other companies and solutions, so you can have more choices and options. Chrome integrates with your existing security stack, giving better users better protection, and IT teams more tools to report on security incidents. It can also connect to Google products like Beyond Core Enterprise, Chronicle, Google Workspace, and Google PubSub, as well as leading third-party providers like KnowBe4 and Virtru and others. We've given you a lot to think about regarding the security capabilities of Google and the Chrome browser. Let's move on to KnowBe4 and see what they have to offer. Next up is our partner, KnowBe4, Joanne Heisman, Senior Vice President of Insights and Research at KnowBe4. Joanne?
Excellent. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Fantastic. So thanks for having me, everyone. Again, my name is Joanna Heisman. I'm with KnowBe4, and let's jump right into it. And so today we're going to focus on driving a more security-ready culture, right? What are your responsibilities? What behaviors do you need to, take on in order to make sure that you can not only detect, but be able to respond and report to any mischief that's happening within your digital environment? And so I think a little bit of background is necessary. So when we look at the threat landscape, it's all of us all the time, everywhere, in all contexts of life, right? So they're not only after you, they're after your children, they're after your adult, elderly parents. These crime organizations don't take time off. There's no vacation. They're global in nature. So they're operating, around the clock. Many of these large global crime organizations, they even have customer service departments. So if they ask you for a ransom, they want to make sure that you don't have anything that won't enable you to pay for it, right? So you're dealing with these large cyber crime organizations, but then you're also dealing with, the 17-year-old living in their grandparents' basement in Wisconsin. So they're everywhere and in all contexts of life, right? So it could be through your kids' gaming apps. It could be through a voice call that one of your elderly parents can get. It could be through text message or through email, which is probably the most common. And so when we look at the landscape, right? So Verizon's data breach investigations report, which is great. If you haven't had an opportunity to read it, I would highly recommend it. Shows that 68% of all breaches include that human element. So it's, a human making an error, privilege misuse, some kind of stolen credentials, just doing something so that these criminals can get in, right? So they're compromising systems. But we've seen favorable movement because last year it was, I believe, 74% or 72%. And so we've seen improvement with this decline, and we know that it's companies focusing on just that human element. And why do they do it? Because they can, and it's easy, and hacking the human is repeatable. And so let's take a look at some of the benchmark data. And, we know that people are a critical defense layer, right? And so, if you train and enable the people to be able to not only spot, detect, but report, then you're really, it's enabling another tool within the technology that you provide. And so every executive always asks, how does my industry compare to others? Right. So, if I'm in healthcare, how do I, compare to other healthcare companies and so forth relative to being breached and the capacity of being breached? And so at KnowBe4, we do this great report. I'm the lead author on it on an annual basis. It's probably our 7th or 8th year. And on an annual basis, we look at 54 million security tests, almost 12 million users across 55,000 organizations. You can see the different size organizations that we have there and how we distribute, who we're talking to. We look at these 19 different industries. And in essence, we're looking for a couple things, right? So we're looking at companies if they do nothing, right? So no training, no phishing testing, no communication. Then we look at them if they do these things for a period of 90 days. And then we look at it at a year, right? So in those different time increments, right, what is the PPP, we call it, phish prone percentage. So in phase one, when your company does nothing, what is the phish prone percentage of employees within the organization clicking on something or doing something that would cause a vulnerability? And then we look at it at that 90 days, and then we look at it at the year. And we have the most data in the industry, and that's not just, hey, we've got the most data. The reason why that's important is because it allows us to do really strong industry-leading research, like this phishing by industry benchmark report that we publish, and provide you with information like this, right? So when we look across the industries, everyone's always asking me, what are the top three, right? So you see healthcare, small, medium, large. That shouldn't come to much of a surprise. What they in education have in common is, generally older technology systems. You have, employees and audiences that are remote, are moving around, don't necessarily or aren't necessarily invested in additional education in this area. Are probably our most problematic positions would be, doctors, nurses, professors, faculty, K through 12 teachers, and so forth. You also see, consulting and insurance and energy and utilities, right? So none of these should be surprising to you. But what this is telling us is that, if your company, by doing nothing, if you're in insurance and you've got almost half of your people potentially prone to clicking on something that is bad, then that's way too much. Even on the smaller end, 31% at the hospitality industry, that's a third of your audience, way too much. And so this is not meant to be an eye chart, but what this is meant to showcase is that, in that phase one, when you do nothing, right, the overall is about 34% across all industries. When you apply 90 days of training and testing and communication, that gets cut almost in half. And if you commit to a program that provides that for over a year, you're talking low single digits. So as an executive, I would much rather be in a position where there's a small percentage of my employees that we really need to monitor and that are considered high risk versus a third of them, right? And that all comes through education and providing instances for employees to practice. Average improvement rate, 86%. So when we talk about culture, right, you can train and train and train, but unless from day one, when employees walk in the door, they understand their responsibility, not only to the corporate culture, which is very different, so that's the goals and the values of the organization, but to the security culture, right? And so the security culture is the ideas, customs, and social behaviors of an organization that influence their security practices. And this is an interesting quote that we always reference, and it's, you get the culture that you ignore, right? And so, many companies out there, and it's hard for me to believe, still don't have really solid foundation of, how they're going to raise the readiness level of their employees so they can best not only benefit from the training, but also they can, take that and transfer it to their personal lives, because everything that we learn, everything that we teach in training is 100% transferable, right? So at my dinner table, I'm not going to talk about a latest feature or function of Salesforce, but am I going to talk to my kids or my family or those that mean the most to me about, more secure passwords, or about identity theft, or about, not being an idiot in social media? Yeah, those are the things we're going to talk about. And so, we always talk to companies about, what they're doing to ensure that they've got the right security knowledge woven into the fiber of their organization. And so when we look at culture, there's three realities, right? It's, first reality is just because I'm aware doesn't mean that I care. Second reality is if you try to work against human nature, you're going to fail. And the third is what your employees do is way much more important. I'm sorry, I just lost it. Way much more important than what they know or what they think, right? And so giving them the opportunity not only to go through really sound curriculum, giving them the opportunity to go through phishing tests, and then giving them the opportunity to be able to internalize that and just becomes part of the fabric of what they do. Now, what's interesting is everybody always asks me about phishing tests and what best practices are and so forth. I'm fortunate to have worked at Gartner for many years. Gartner is the leading technology research company in the world. And so I owned the security awareness and training space for many, many years. And so I wrote all the reports, all of the hype cycles, all of the market reports. I talked to thousands of customers when I was there. And from a best practice perspective, companies that continuously and comprehensively offer not only education, but opportunities to test through phishing, and then consistent communication are the ones that fare the best. Realize that was a bill, because this is what we focus on. We focus on the very kind of small piece of it, right? But our cyber criminals that are on the attack, they focus on a full landscape of things, right? And the three things that they're looking for in a human target is those people that are lazy, those people that are distracted, and those people that are lacking the knowledge, right? And so you might say, I'm none of those. Well, let me give you an example, right? So at KnowBe4, I could be phished 5-6 times a day by my internal team. And you're probably saying, wow, that feels like a lot. How do you focus on work, right? And in the beginning, when I started at KnowBe4, excuse me, it was a little bit to get used to, right? And so it took me maybe 30 seconds longer to be able to dissect an email and be able to identify whether it was not mischievous or not, right? Whether I needed to report it or not. But now my instincts are so good years later that I can look at something and I can tell immediately whether or not, it's something that I should or shouldn't open. Right. And that takes practice. And so what KnowBe4 does is it gives me the opportunity to practice. Now, I will tell you, in the last 350 practices that I received, I clicked on 2. Once I was distracted and once I was lazy. Right. And I know better. Right. I write this report. I talk to companies about this. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Right. But even I fell victim. And let me share, right? I'm not embarrassed by this, right? This is an educational tool. The one time when I was lazy, I had just come back from a conference. I spoke to a ton of people. I got a LinkedIn message that said, Megan is interested in talking with you and connecting with you. She sent you a message, click here. I'm like, oh, Megan, yeah, I remember her. Clicked in on it, off to the races, right? So they know that I was lazy, that I didn't go to LinkedIn and sign in and understand whether or not I had a new connection that I need to accept and whether or not they sent me a message, the right way to do it. I just clicked on that because I was lazy, right? And by the way, LinkedIn, which we don't associate with something being a social media platform, which it is, and looking at it as kind of more of a business. Oh, it's not going to be, they've been hacked already, right? So they've been down this road already. The other time when I was distracted, I was in Target. I was back to school shopping for my kids, and I was standing in a really, really long line, and the world around me was crazy. And I said, stupidly, let me jump on my email to see whether or not I can clear some of this out while I'm standing here because I don't want to waste time, right? Clicked into something, that's it, because I really wasn't paying attention. I was checking out the kids that were freaking out because they didn't get what they want, people arguing over the line, all the mayhem. I was distracted. And so you too are probably lazy, distracted, or don't have the knowledge at some point and can fall victim, right? But what if everyone knew what to do? And what if they knew what to do instinctively, right? As you see here, right? Well, it's driving a security culture is the number one recommendation that we give companies, right? And so that is, when your employees enter the organization, they have to understand these kind of 7 dimensions, which is what we hang our hat on at KnowBe4. And you might say, what makes you guys the experts here? Well, in 2019, we actually acquired the world's leading security culture company called Culture, CLTRE. And since then, we've been doing a lot of research based on the data and the science that they put behind the methodology. And we brought that into kind of what we call KnowBe4 proper, right? And so when we look at those 7 dimensions that people really need to focus on, it's their behaviors and responsibilities connected to their cognition. It's the what they know, right? And then it's the norms. It's the what they see. Are they observing things that are happening, around the office? Are their colleagues doing things that they should be modeling? Are they doing the right things? And then from a compliance perspective, are the executives, are the managers, is the security team, right? Are they continuously communicating kind of those standards and those policies that strengthen us? Because I'll tell you what, people talk to me about policy all the time, like, oh, our company just puts in policy to put policy in. No, they don't, right? So policy needs to be followed, right? And so, when you look at something like a security policy, it's something that needs to be invested in. And then it's communicating, right? And so communications just shouldn't come out from the security team, right? So these security communications should be hung on, sales communications. They should be rolling banners on intranet site. Wherever the audience is, there should be some kind of active communication, because security is all what's front of mind right now, right? And I think about this stuff all day, right? And my kids don't, but I remind them on a daily basis of what they should be doing. And my kids are, 21 and 19. Right? They're, practically adults. I put that in quotations. And they should know better, right? And they should be reminded, right? Because 100% of what we're doing here transfers to them. And I remind my, elderly father, who's 89 years old, never used technology, immigrated to the United States from Greece, right? Has never worked on a laptop. We give him a handheld smartphone just so we can track him, right? So he doesn't text on it, he doesn't take pictures, doesn't do anything on it, right? But here's someone who, in essence, should have taught me what I needed to know. By sheer virtue of my job, I'm pretty good at it. But I talked to my friends who are in their 40s and 50s, and they weren't taught what to do. And so we're teaching this next generation. We've taught them how to take these devices, which are, like giving them a car that goes, 150 miles an hour, and setting them free, right? And so education is important here. And so you didn't come with it, right? We need to teach you in the workplace. And you might say, well, this younger generation, no, because I've done the research, right? Most universities and colleges, unless you are majoring in it, you really don't get a lot. And you know what? These university and colleges, I've got a kid at Ohio State, 70,000 people are there, right? 70,000 graduate and undergraduate students, right? They're not providing the appropriate amount of security awareness training for that entire population, right? And so are the kids getting it? I've looked at K through 12. A lot of, these K through 12 educational environments, again, they're not getting it either, right? So communicating is very important. And then it's the what I feel, it's the attitudes. Is it my responsibility? Well, yes, it is. It's everybody's responsibility. And so then we recommend the attack simulation, right? So a company that provides opportunities to practice, I applaud, right? And so if you're being phished, using any of these common techniques that you see, either fake invoices or FedEx packages. Text is great. I got one yesterday that said, your FedEx package is being delayed, and I'm the person who gets a package a day from Amazon. If I don't, I feel like, I need to, right? And so it's very possible that my package is delayed. It's not delayed, right? That was something that was suspicious, right? And so keep that in mind. And then recommended recommendation number 3 is communication, which I spoke of, right? And so it's that ongoing, how do you keep the communication going across your company and frankly, across your family and those that mean the most to you? And I will tell you that sharing this kind of stuff is very important. One of the most frequent talks that I do is how to keep your family safe online, especially in social media. And then how to be leverage your cyber hygiene, right? Avoid strange links. Unique passwords. This is where people start rolling their eyes. Well, I can pretty much bet that your passwords start with something that is uppercase letter, then a lowercase, then some numbers, and then some characters at the end. And oh, by the way, we know that you just changed the characters at the end, right? And so don't roll your eyes on unique passwords. Really use a great password manager to help you out with that if you need help. Backup. If you're in the airport, if you're in Starbucks, don't just jump on a Wi-Fi thinking that it's their Wi-Fi when there's somebody across the cafe from you or across the airport that just set up United Secure Wi-Fi with a number 1 behind it. Off to the races you are, right? And then just principles of being a human firewall. Don't make assumptions, stay alert, think critically, see something, say something, and then follow those policies. Because security awareness doesn't have to be hard, you just need to be dialed into it. I am done, and I'm sorry if that was a lesson in speed as well, but you will be getting this presentation, hopefully that you can look at it in greater detail. I'm going to pass this back to our host now, Pete, to keep it going. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Joanne, I can totally relate too. It's funny. Your stories are really, really good, because when I take a look at the process of trying to catch these things, catch that fish, it's when I'm distracted. And
yeah.
I'm head of security at our organization, and every once in a while I get caught as well, because I'm distracted and I'm thinking, oh, my boss needs to see this report really quick, so I got to reply to this email, and I click the link, and sure enough. But these are really, really good too. KnowBe4 does a great job creating what I would call AI generated emails that look really real. So kudos to KnowBe4. Next person up, Tony Rosales. Tony, I can't wait to hear about Virtru.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. And yeah, so now that we're all, heightened awareness and slightly paranoid, let's get even further down the rabbit hole here. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit about kind of what's inside the castle, if you will, right? So we've been talking about all the different things that we can do to defend our network, our infrastructure, our identities, our employees. We can equip them and do all of these things, but ultimately sometimes those things fall down. And so we at Virtru kind of really spend most of our days thinking about data and data security in really 2 distinct ways, right? So there's obviously the defensive mindset or the defensive posture. What we're doing is we're minimizing business risk, we're standing up walls, we're standing up defense mechanisms, training our users, all the stuff that Joanna was talking about. Love KnowBe4, by the way, we also use it at Virtru. Those are all wonderful things, and we have to do those things, and we have to stay on top of it. There's also something else, though, that really drives kind of the products that we create here at Virtru, and that is really making sure that data itself is protected. We can do that with encryption, we can do that with access control, and we can do that with attributes. And really, what it all boils down to is once that organization that is trying to attack you, because they are, right? Once they get through the perimeter, because we do live in a world where the perimeter is either dissolving or the bad actors are already inside. And that's just a reality we have to come to grips with within the security world. The idea is once they get to that point where they're through the walls, what are we doing to make sure the information isn't able to walk out the back door? And that's really what we do at Virtru, is we enable customers and organizations like yourselves to be able to kind of move in that direction and really think about the information in and of itself, right? And so what we're really talking about here is this is kind of where Virtru fits in as far as the different organizations. I have Google Cloud here because Google Cloud really does kind of encompass all of the different planes, but the idea is we're talking about your different identity providers. We're talking about endpoints and devices, networks, applications, data defense as far as preventing unintentional loss. But we're also talking about being able to actually go on the offense with that data. What does that mean? What that means is I can take this data, and because it is able to live within this castle of information that we've set up, it's going to be just fine on the inside, or at least there, so goes the theory. However, what happens when I need to do something as simple as share this information out to one of my partners or vendors? For instance, if I work in the health industry and I need to send information to a lab or some sort of research facility or another doctor, another hospital, that information now has to leave my very safe and secure environment. And now what am I going to do? I have to be able to control it. I have to be able to consider that as part of my security posture. Another way of saying it is when we're talking about the money, we are specifically saying that $180 billion or 98% of the cybersecurity vertical is spent on protecting information that is already within these networks and infrastructures, right? We are talking about an industry that is doing all of these things at this different onion layer approach, which is exactly what needs to be done. But only 2% of that budget is actually looking at the data itself and aimed at protecting the information that we are intentionally sharing with others, right? This is not data exfiltration we're talking about. We are actually just talking about doing your job in a day-to-day manner, right? And so the idea is we have a little bit of an imbalance here in terms of we're making these huge castles and these huge fortifications. We're not really paying attention to the crown jewels, that's at the center, right? And that's really where we need to start focusing our focus as well. Ultimately, what we're trying to do at Virtru, and what we feel is kind of the appropriate way and methodology of thinking, is really being able to allow you to go on the offense with this information, right? Being able to share it with the same peace of mind and satisfaction that your defensive security strategies are offering you, right? Being able to actually take that information and send it off to third-party, suppliers, vendors, customers, whoever you really need to work with. And we're doing it in such a way that it's going to give you the ability to have granular access control over that. Doing things like something as simple as setting up an expiration date, or the ability to revoke access once it's left your hands, so to speak, right? Being able to actually control that information outside of the perimeter is really kind of the crux of what we're doing here at Virtru. It's also going to help, facilitate business innovation, because again, we are no longer held down by the inability to communicate. Right now, we're able to communicate safely and securely while still meeting all of these security postures and kind of regulations that we are either setting on ourselves, or that some sort of governing body or regulatory commission is putting on us. In terms of kind of how we do that, it's really, I had a conversation with a customer probably about 6 months ago, and we tied this all back into the idea of zero trust and kind of the direction that it has kind of gone since the inception and the idea of zero trust, and it became kind of a buzzword for a long time. But what we really see is this is the fulfillment of zero trust, and actually, being able to handle one of those pillars being the data itself. Meaning that what we're looking at is we're able to kind of manage the information between data and identities, and actually tie them together in the ability to be able to actually say, okay, because you are this person, you're able to access this information. Nothing else is necessarily tying us to that, right? We are saying that this information has attributes, and you are entitled to see this information directly, right? So apart from all of the other security we have in place. That's exactly what we're trying to build here, and kind of the direction we're trying to go. That's kind of all I have. I just kind of wanted to keep it really simple and succinct. Keith, I want to turn it back to you. Is there anything else we want to kind of talk about, or do we want to open it up for questioning at this point?
Absolutely. Let's field questions at this point, and feel free. You can add your questions into the chat. I think we have something over here. Okay, it's Megan. Yeah. We're also Virtru user and reseller, and we actually have a lot of clients that use the product suite. Same with KnowBe4. We're utilizing the tools. In terms of the capability to manage security around data in Google Workspace.
Yeah.
I understand that there are capabilities to manage your own keys.
Yeah. So the idea is, again, as the need arises, whether you're using Google's client-side encryption or you're using Virtru's products directly, the need may come up to manage your own keys, right? To have your own key store that's actually providing that additional stand apart way to manage those keys, right? Because a lot of organizations and compliance regulations, CMMC and ITAR comes to mind, are going to require you to have that key in a store that is outside of those third parties, thus denying access to all third parties involved. And that is a really good security posture to have, both when you're dealing with Google and when you're dealing even with Virtru or any other third party, right? You want to make sure that you and you alone, you being the customer, has the information or the keys to be able to control that information in any event, whether it's at rest, in transit, all the way around.
Yes, it's encrypted only for you.
That's right. Yep. And only you have to say whether it gets shared or not.
That's right. Megan, did we find any other questions?
It doesn't look like it. Just a quick reminder, if you have a question, if you head over to the activities button and click into the Q&A section, that's where you can ask your question and we can field it from there.
All right.
Thank you. Give it maybe one more minute, Pete.
Yeah, wait one more minute and then we'll close things out. Really appreciate everybody coming to this. This was something to help us kind of get the movement into our October month of cybersecurity. So everybody knows October is the cybersecurity month, right?
That's right.
Celebrate October. Oh, plus Halloween.
Yeah, as well. You know what? I will also share that if you have young kids on KnowBe4 on our site, we actually have a toolkit that's available for you to use with, I think it's like K through 12, I believe. So
that's awesome.
You're looking for tools, yeah.
Yeah, I think speaking of KnowBe4, I think one of my favorite things that we do is the cybersecurity training. Like, we use all of the products, but the cybersecurity training is top notch. It's entertaining and good.
Thank you.
That's right. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you found this webinar informative and helpful. We've covered a lot of ground. So from Google's powerful security tools to the importance of a strong security culture, and even how to effectively secure your organization's security posture. We're confident that the information shared today can help with significantly strengthening your organization's security posture. If you're a current Wursta client, please connect with your account manager at accountmanagement@wursta.com. And for those who are new to Wursta and would like to learn more about our services, feel free to email us at info@wursta.com. You can also find us online at wursta.com or connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Have a great day, everybody.